Well, it's great to be back to Georgetown, to a very important university and a very important capital city, which has always played its pivotal role throughout the modern history of the Republic of Armenia and the Armenian people. As I look through the audience, I'm reminded of the conversation between two cows in the Armenian countryside, grazing there on the Ashtarak-Gyumri highway, and they see a truck whiz by, and on the truck it says, it's a milk truck, pasteurized, homogenized, and vitamin D added. And one cow turns to the other and says, it makes you feel a little bit inadequate, doesn't it? Well, that's sort of how I feel, being here among scientists and ambassadors and professors, and especially a young generation, which holds out a lot of promise for Armenia and its future. The keynote address, I think, is nothing more than a summary. For those who have been present throughout this forum, from last night's presentation of the new report by the organizers and the two panels today, we have a new generation of policy analysis, of a critical approach to Armenian diaspora relations. And I think that the challenge as we look forward almost on the eve of the third decade of Armenia's independence to creating a unified or a coordinated vision or blueprint for the future would merely have the challenge of conveying into a policy process the hearts and minds and policy prescriptions that are being discussed here at this forum. Armenia and the diaspora are indeed as different from each other as they are one. And we know in this transnational, globalized third millennium that both conceptually and literally, Armenia and diaspora have shared identities. Armenia has become part diaspora, diaspora part Armenia, and therefore the challenges and tribulations and prospects for the Armenian nation are very much attached to the developing discourse within Armenia, within dispersion, and between the various diasporas and the one Republic of Armenia. Very symbolically, this policy forum takes place during a trinity of days that mean a lot to us in Armenian history. 22 years ago, on February 28th, 28th, this last weekend, the Armenian community of Sumgait in Azerbaijan was attacked based on its identity for being Armenian, and basically the militarization of the Mountainous Karabakh conflict and the quest for Artsakh for self-determination and liberty took a new form as a nation that in history had survived genocide and national dispossession, faced once again the specter of pogroms and victimization and punishment for one's own identity. March 1st, 2 years ago, in downtown Yerevan, we Armenians underwent a very shameful, presidential-driven tragedy where we lost 10 citizens, faith and confidence in our nation, and in the values and standards that our parents and grandparents have passed on to us as traditional Armenian values. We remember the fallen outside of Armenia's frontiers and in Armenia, and in our own way we say, never again. Never again, because the quality of Armenia's making it, the quality of its future, the ability and capacity of Armenia to deliver on foreign policy objectives is directly conditional on the quality of life in Armenia, the depth of democracy, and the application of the rule of law. We remember, and we must work never again to allow tragedy both within our frontiers and outside of our frontiers where any Armenian rights are at issue. And March 2nd, tomorrow, is the 18th anniversary of Armenia's accession to the United Nations, Armenia's sovereign return to the family of nations. And I'm very happy that Ambassador Shugarian, Mr. Babian, and many other public servants are with us here today, as well as my father and Professor Richard Hovhannisian, who was there at that time, and the Dean of Modern Armenian History, and someone who is also very, very concerned that Armenian history should not repeat. The challenge, I think, that weaves its way through the presentations is how to graduate beyond our own parochialism and to come upon an integrated, inclusive policy process, not necessarily anchored in structure, although there's a lot of talk about new structures, but a policy that realizes the capacity of our nation and delivers results. Delivers results in Armenia and in the diaspora. We as a nation are long on civilization but short on statecraft, and we still have not found the formula to translate the wealth of individual talent across the board into collective success at home or abroad. To do this, of course, to forge this joint institutionalized decision-making, we need to harness the resources, professional, intellectual, and especially our youth, allowing for their individual and professional integration into decision-making, distinguishing at once between strategy and tactics, and also allowing for a division of responsibilities. Ownership and stakeholding in policy formulation and implementation are very, very key for this new generation. And it's a generation that, in modern circumstances, the Republic of Armenia has to compete for their resources, their contributions, their investments, because this generation is a generation of the world. There are many demands and many choices that it is called upon to make, and Armenia has to be competitive against this background as well. But the important thing, I think, is that we have to hold ourselves to the highest possible standards of statecraft and democracy and respect for rights. Having lost so much in history, we should not seek shortcuts or easy ways out. A self-critical diagnosis is always helpful, as difficult as that might be. And we come, based on the presentations that we've heard over the last 2 days, to the conclusion that we do have problems with respect to good governance and accountability, specifically within the Republic of Armenia, also in diaspora, and also in the relationship between the various diasporas and sub-diasporas and the